The newest co-defendant in the special counsel's classified documents case is out on bail. Mar-A-Lago property manager Carlos de Oliveira appeared in a Miami courtroom on Monday. Now, he didn't enter a formal plea to the four charges in the grand jury indictment, including conspiracy to obstruct justice and lying to the FBI. So to talk about it all, let's bring in Robert Sanders. He's a national security associate professor at the University of New Haven, a former military lawyer. Robert, great to see you. I want to start here that de Oliveira is accused of being part of an effort to try and delete security footage at Trump's resort. He's someone who's described as not being part of Trump's inner circle, though. Could that make him more likely, you think, to make a deal?
Well, where we are today is that the pawns in Donald Trump's orbit are now being forced to move by Prosecutor Smith. And each of those pawns is moving in a very predictable way. In chess, pawns get to make one step and one step only. In this case, the steps are finding a Donald Trump appointed attorney from Washington, D.C. to bring them closer into the orbit. And then second, showing up in court on day one and saying they don't have a local Florida attorney to represent them. So that is a process by which Donald Trump is able to control these pawns so that the king, or in this case, the kingpin, is not toppled.
And Robert, to that point, bringing the Trump orbit, I should say, is paying for at least the legal fees now for de Oliveira and Walt Nauta, as far as we know. And you touched on it a little bit, but is that a sort of influence on these folks to try and bring them into that orbit? Is that a common practice? How do you interpret what we're seeing there?
Well, it's not a common practice in the outer world, but in the Trump world, you can see and reach all the way back to last summer when we saw Cassie Hutchinson in the same process, in the same procedure, and then realized at some point, this is not in my best interest, and went out and got her own counsel. So one of the ways that Donald Trump controls the pawns, the rooks, the castles in his orbit is to assign them counsel of his seeking and his orbit.
Yeah. Now, we're also learning the surveillance footage that's linked to the new obstruction charges against Trump in the classified documents case was only obtained in recent weeks. Is that a sign that the special counsel office is still digging despite essentially charges being brought?
He clearly is. And as a good special prosecutor, which Mr. Smith has shown himself to be, you never stop looking for things that will help your case move forward or to bring the people you want to charge to the table to plead.
Yeah. Now, I want to switch to, there's a lot of jurisdictions here, but I want to switch to a state investigation in Georgia tied here. A Fulton County judge rejected a challenge from Trump's legal team to stop the investigation, writing in part, and I want to read this here, while being the subject or even target of a highly publicized criminal investigation is likely an unwelcome and unpleasant experience, no court ever has held that status alone provides a basis for the courts to interfere with or halt the investigation. What do you make of the judge's reaction there? I mean, it really didn't seem to leave any daylight for interpretation.
Yeah, I think the judge was trying to let the world know that we live in a world, at least in the United States, for the time being, where the rule of law trumps the individual personality of an individual who happened to have been the former president of the United States when he was alleged to have committed crimes. And we're going to move forward like he is a citizen of the United States, like you and I, who can defend himself, is innocent until proven otherwise, but is also open to be investigated by different levels within the United States system.
And for our audience trying to keep track of all of these cases and all of these jurisdictions, in that case, Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis is expected to present her 2020 election interference case to a grand jury by September 1st. Professor Robert Sanders, thank you for joining us this morning. Your insight is greatly appreciated.